Hello and welcome back to round 5. We are on the draw and we have a one lander with a couple burn spells, so it's a bit on the fence, but generally I'm going to send these back. This deck does mulligan quite well, and we are just going to hope for a better 6. Our 6 is pretty good. We got 2 lands, we've got ways of drawing extra cards, we have a Skyfisher to continue doing that. On top of our deck is another Windscarred Crag. We decided to leave that there because with this hand we want to draw extra mana to start getting our engines online. A little unfortunately though, we are against Stompy, so this is a very slow hand and I'm not feeling good about our chances on this one. At this point, we basically need to get some early interaction to be able to deal with this. Drawing Sense Enlistment, while it would be good later in the game when we have extra lands, here it is not going to do us any favors. And we are just going to try and get some of our stuff online. Unfortunately, he also has his one of Longbow. This is not looking too good for us because with the Quirion Ranger and that, he's going to be able to shoot down any of our creatures that we play. And given that, we basically play the Vial. We're trying to get out a Skyfisher so that way we can play around the Longbow as much as possible. But he's just dumping his hand. It's not looking great, so we decided, alright, well, we gotta shift gears. Let's get this Glinthawk out. Let's get the Skyfisher out. We can gain an extra land using one of the Windscarred Crags here since we didn't have a land drop. And now we've got 2 blockers. He offers some trades, so basically we know some kind of pump is coming. We still have to try and block, but it turns out he's got multiple spells. There wasn't really much we could do in this position. We could have tried to take that and wait for another turn to hold up Galvanic Blast, but it just wasn't looking good no matter what option we chose. So at this point we're just trying to reduce the amount of eats we're taking. We do get to eat a guy, but we're now down to 4, and he can start using the longbow for multiple damage a turn. We're able to kill that, but we're just trying to find some way of gaining some life, draw a couple lands, and hopefully stabilize. This longbow is going to cause us problems though if we don't find some way of gaining better life. We're going to trade with whatever we can and try and absorb as much as we can, but that Rancor makes things look not too good. Here we basically have to try and Alchemist Vial his River Boa and hope that's good enough, but if he has a Vines of the Vastwood, that's not going to work out for us. So we go for our play. It manages us to hold him off for a turn. We did manage to have some life gain, so we're starting to feel okay. We go for the journey. It sticks. So we went from having no chance to maybe having a chance. We know he still has a couple Rancors, so things might get a little dicey. The Palace Sentinels is not that great here since we know that with the Rancors he's always going to be able to basically get by it. And here, him having another Hunger of the Howl Pack means he's now got a really large threat. So we have to play our Palace Sentinels just to have enough toughness to survive. And we're basically just hoping to find some way of either getting like a Skyfisher to bounce our journey to replay the journey, or draw another journey because we really need to get rid of this young wolf with all this power on it. Unfortunately for us though, he drew a Bone Splinter. So now we're taking 5, going down to 1, and anything is lethal. So we need to draw pretty well here. We basically need a journey. We throw the Secluded Step back to draw an extra card. Fortunately, we don't get what we need, and we have no way of surviving this turn, so we concede and move on to game 2. In game 2, we've got the great sideboard for this matchup. We've got the 2 Lone Missionaries which we bring in, the 2 Standard Bearers, which would prevent any of those Hunger the Howlpack shenanigans. We've got the 2 strands. And this time, we do take out all the Sentinels. We saw flyers out of his deck. He was going wide pretty quickly, and I usually go back and forth between taking out 3 and taking out 2. Screeches always come out, and we took out 1 Prism. So basically we're just lowering our curve as much as possible to interact, gain life, trade as much as we can in the early couple turns before we need to go into the stabilization plan. So our opening hand looks absolutely amazing. We have a turn 1 play in Thraben Inspector, and then we have multiple removal spells, and we have a vial to get our engines online once we start drawing our Skyfishers and Glinthawks. So we run with this. We're very happy. We're basically going to kill anything he plays unless we decide we want to play the vial. We do play the vial this time. He does have the Rancor. I'm always going to make this trade. It's trading a creature. He's going to get 1 damage in, which means he probably wants to play a Pit Skulk, which he does. But we can just go ahead and get rid of it. I chose to use a Journey there because the Lightning Bolt we can use at instant speed, and we're basically hoping he's going to play that Rancor again so we can nab it. And he doesn't. So, a little unfortunate for us. We are going to just Lightning Bolt the Boa since he didn't leave a mana open to regenerate. And we will continue to draw cards since that's what our deck really likes to do. We want to use our mana as efficiently as possible, and I don't mind making the trade if he just plays a Rancor. So we go ahead with that plan, but he chooses instead to put the Rancor on the Nettle Sentinel, so he's not going to be attacking us this turn. That's fine for us. So it looks like in this game we are doing much better. Our life total is still very high. We've got our engine online, we have plenty of mana. We have some ways of gaining life. We've got creatures to trade. Yeah, things are looking great in this one. I'm fine with getting in here. I'm going to be looking to trade the Glinthawk with his Metal Sentinel. Or I'm going to just stop his guy from attacking at all. That's what I end up doing, and he basically has no play. I'm assuming at this point that he's probably got like a Pit Skulk that he wants to get in after doing some damage. And he may have some like Mutagenic Growth of some sort to win in combat. Now that we have this Prismatic Strands, we're not worried about those kind of things anymore. And we can actually go for a much more aggressive plan of just attacking, letting him attack his back, Prismatic Strands, and just kind of go with the racing plan. Since we are able to draw lots of cards, and there isn't really anything he can do to hurt us when we have this Prismatic Strands. So we carry out our plan. He has a Burning Tree, which is fine. That doesn't scare us at all. We're going to continue drawing our cards. We're basically looking for a white creature, so that way we can hold up the strands and continue to go on the full aggressive. So we continue to cycle through our deck. We have a bunch of removal spells here, so we're going to leave 1 creature back, look for a block, and if he's got the pump spells we were worried about, we can actually just burn it. If he just attacks with a 1 creature like he did, that's fine. We'll take the 4 damage. We're not hurting life-wise. Turns out he was holding multiple Pit Skulks, but once again, we've got 4 damage in the air. We've got 7 damage in our hand. So we're just trying to draw more cards to find that last bit of damage we're looking for. Here, now that we found another white creature, this is going to let us attack in for 4. We have the Glinthawk to fog his next turn, and we've got enough burns, so we're already looking like we're going to win next turn. And we're just making sure things go fantastic. We find a little missionary. At this point, there is no way that we're going to lose this one. We've got it completely locked up. So he attacks with everything. I'm not going to pass up the opportunity to eat 2 of his guys while using the strands, and he concedes. I don't even have to use any of the burn spells. He knows it's game over at this point, since we've got 8 power on the board and the vial to stop his ranger from attacking, so he concedes there. We'll move on to game 3. There was no changes in the sideboard, as you can see. So our opening hand is pretty good. It's a little on the slow side, and we don't have red right away, but we do have the Standard Bearer and Lone Missionary, 2 great cards in this matchup, and we do have the Prophetic Prism with which to get our Lightning Bolt online. So we keep this. It's looking pretty good. Depending on what he plays off the start, we will now play the... oh, actually, we were deciding... We had the option to play the Thraben Spectre right away, so that way, if he was to attack, we would trade or just disincentivize the attack altogether. But on the other hand, it is really good to get out the Standard Bearer as early as possible to prevent a lot of his Rancors and various other spells that target his creatures from having any effect. So we play the tap land. We have the plan of playing the turn 2 Standard Bearer, which we do. It does mean we're going to take some beats early on, but the Lone Missionary is going to let us get back the life we're losing. We want to get the red man online, so we get the Prophetic Prism down. And we get the Thraben Spectre. We will make the trade with the Quirion Ranger if he gives us the opportunity to. We know he can't replay the Rancor onto one of his Pit Skulks since we have the Standard Bearer. And we have this Lone Missionary, which will trade with one of the Pit Skulks. We have Lightning Bolts, which will kill creatures. We've got the Journey to Nowhere, so things are looking great. Boros Garrison is a fantastic draw. It means we're just going to keep our lands going. We have the option of bouncing the Sand Step, Secluded Step, to draw an extra card, but we just want additional mana since we've got lots of plays, lots of things to do with our mana. Here we're just going to trade with one of the creatures, and we're going to bolt the other. Going to leave him with the Sentinel, since doesn't have any evasion. We're fine with him having that. We're not afraid of the River Boa since we're able to just journey it. And we're feeling great here. We've got extra cards to draw. We have a removal. He's down to 2 cards. Even though we're at 9 life, we do have the Standard Bearer, and we know one of those cards is the Rancor, which he can't cast. Chances are he's also got other cards stuck in his hand which he's unable to cast. And so we're just going to ride the Standard Bearer to victory as best we can. It is possible at some point that he may draw a way to remove it, like the fight card. So we're going to try and hold up this Lightning Bolt as much as possible to prevent that from happening. And we had the option of bolting the Metal Sentinel, but of course I didn't do that because I wanted to hold it up to prevent a fight effect. Now we've got 2 Skyfishers, so we're able to hold one up to block his Metal Sentinel. Thraben Spectre would block the Young Wolf, and we can start chipping in a little bit. Drawing additional lands is good. It means we can play our Glint Hawk to bounce the Prophetic Prism and still hold up that red for the Lightning Bolt in case he has a fight effect. We're very glad to have the Standard Bearer because if he had been able to play his Rancor and possibly other pump spells, this would be a much more precarious situation. But we are feeling really good on this one. Continuing to churn through our deck. Lots of gas. And we're able to start getting in for 4 a turn now. We've now got, since he hasn't forced us to use these Lightning Bolts, we're basically looking to use these at his face in the near future. We start going ahead to burn his face because we know we have the Rally of the Peasants, which will win us the game. Yep. The one of Rally, I do like it for this ability just to close out a game. In this particular game, we didn't need to use it. We would have just been able to attack for 4 and then kill him on the following turn. But having the ability to close out the game pretty quickly is nice. So we won this one, and we'll see you in the next round.